first hearing, went back and looked at the bill and did not want to experiment with any seizure or forfeiture laws that had not already been court tested. And Section 16-13-49, which is basically our drug forfeiture and seizure laws that are currently in place. And the packet that you were just handed is a copy of that code section. So I hope that it will answer any questions. But let me just briefly, in a synopsis, tell you what the bill does. Starting on line 13 of page 1, it basically says any motor vehicle that is in this, that's involved in a violation of traffic laws in this state, or if it's involved in an accident in this state, while it's being operated by a person who's not legally in the country, shall be considered as property which is subject to forfeiture under the procedures contained in the code section 16-13-49. In county, over the course of the past 10 to 15 years, this is my 16th year, I've been honored to come down here, and over the course of that time, progressively each year, I keep getting more and more phone calls from constituents. James, I was at the mall on Saturday, I got hit, rear-ended by an individual. As it turned out, they were in the United States illegal. They have no insurance. My vehicle is damaged. I'm now left to file a claim on my own vehicle. My insurance company is now telling me that not only will I have to file my claim on my own insurance, but my premium is going to go up.
Thank you very much. Representative, thank you, Chairman Mills, for coming and presenting this to us. Got a couple of questions, and again, certainly looking to hear more about this with great interest. I guess the key question that I'll start off with is, as I looked at this, and I certainly appreciate you providing us with this code section. I'll have to look at it in more detail to really get a better understanding of what we're going to try to accomplish. But my first question will be how, as I look at the meat of this, how do we make the determination of whether a person is illegal or legal as it relates to this? How do we go about doing that?
Well, that has to be determined a number of ways. I know my county has just entered what's called the 287G program, the ICE program, which allows a county to enter into a national database so that if our Hall County Sheriff's Office pulls someone over, they tell me that they can immediately, if you're tied in this database, they can immediately tell whether or not someone is here legally or illegal. Now, having said that, I hope this would encourage more counties to do that, because I really do believe this is a security issue in a number of ways in our nation. But in a nutshell, that's the database that's in place. I couldn't tell you specifically how they do it.
Having said that, and you referenced Hall County, is there any uniformity across the state of Georgia where all counties in the great state of Georgia have access to the same database? And is there uniformity across that to where they're looking at the same information at all times?
That's exactly what 287G is trying to do, is trying to entice counties to enter into that. However, I would say to you that right now, your counties have to determine at some point, if someone commits a felony, they're brought before the judge and they have to determine are they here legally or not. And if they're here illegally, then supposedly Immigration Natural Services, INS, is supposed to see that they are shipped back to the homeland, wherever that may be, that they broke into our country from and returned to their country.
You referenced, and Mr. Chairman, you can stop me at any point, because I certainly want to refer to it.
And we want to bet this thoroughly.
You referenced felony. Is a traffic violation a felony?
It can be, but now, naturally, I have broadened this bill to traffic violations, as we talked about initially. That shouldn't be a surprise, because I talked about that as I presented the bill for the first time. If you believe a person should be made whole after they've been hit by someone who's uninsured, it would only make sense to try to prevent that problem. There are those who would like to claim and have the discussion of constitutional rights. As I said, I think earlier, in my earlier comments, the first presentation, you know, if someone kicks down the front door of my house, I'm not going to invite them to the kitchen table for a discussion on their constitutional rights. I'm going to secure the house. The federal government has turned its back to the fact that the door of our country has been kicked down. I graduated in 1981 from a fine educational institution. That institution today, which had a zero population, it is now dramatically somewhat different. And the truth is that we have a county that struggles in many different areas: our court system, our hospital, our trauma care, our jails, uninsured vehicles, on and on I can go, as a direct result of that door of the nation being kicked down and our federal government doing nothing. So we as states have to start doing something.
Mr. Chairman, I got to ask another question, and that is, as a legislative body, how do we resolve the seizure of private property, whether it be legals or illegals? How do we resolve that as a body moving forward? How do we do that?
Well, the code section that I've cited here is the exact same code section that is in law currently, so I'm not doing anything different, except that currently we do it with drugs and contraband. This expands that to someone who has broken down the door of this country, come in illegally, said, I'm going to defy the law. I don't care what your law says. I'm not going to abide by your law. I won't recognize it. I'll drive on your streets illegally. And so this is an attempt to deal with that. But again, it adds no new language except what's currently in the law. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just applying it to this problem.
Representative Hardy, and if I may, because interject a little bit here, because we've had some of the same concerns and addressed some of these things in our county. The 287G that Chairman Mills refers to is at this time optional. Any county can avail themselves of that. They have to go through a few classes. I don't know if certification is the proper word, but they do have to do it properly to be certified by ICE. And at that time, if they find a person is illegal, they actually can notify the feds, and they will take over. They should take over custody of the individual, but at least it will take over the financial obligations within the jails if the county is in fact certified. But I think they can avail themselves of this database. It's a matter of if they will, if they want to, but the majority of the counties are moving rapidly in this direction. So that is happening. And as I can see it, it is possible on a minor infraction that somebody may not be able to determine if the person is in fact an illegal alien. But if somebody is illegal, unless they have fraudulently obtained false identification, they also wouldn't have a driver's license. And that might be the first indication when they make a traffic stop. If somebody doesn't have a legal driver's license or happens to have a one that appears to be falsified, they do pursue that further. And so I think there's a good indication that in the majority of instances they would find. I'm sure some would slip through. I think it's inevitable that some slip through on almost everything. But and we don't want to make this so tight that it would involve innocence, because that is certainly, I don't believe, the intention of the chairman, and that's why he had it fall into the 161349, and that really protects innocent parties, such as car rental agencies or someone who the vehicle's obtained from fraudulently. I've thoroughly vetted this. In fact, we worked with attorneys from the Speaker's office in the last hour going over this just to make sure that there's in no way that would this catch an innocent party and involve them and have their vehicle seized. So from the legal standpoint, we feel pretty comfortable about having that under the 161349. But I believe Representative Callen had a question.
My